Okay, hello everybody, and welcome back. So today I want to get a little vulnerable with you guys. So I want to share something that I don't usually talk about in this much detail. This is not like the marketing things where it's like, oh, everything's great and I have all the answers. This is my real story. Because if you are a virtual assistant, OBM, done for you service provider listening to this, there is a really good chance that you are also in a business that technically works, but maybe it's not really flowing like you want it to. And I know in my heart and soul how lonely that can feel, especially when you look online and everybody is like, I booked a client, I did this, oh, I'm earning so much money, oh, I'm taking a walk, I'm going to yoga. Whatever, right? So this episode here is me being honest about 3 really big mistakes that I made in my business as a VA and as an OBM. And the mistakes that I made actually looked like success on the outside, but they led me to burnout and to a lot of other negative consequences. And there are lessons in this for you. So buckle up because this is for you. So what I want to say to get things started right up front is that my business was successful, right? Like I worked really hard at the beginning, well, all throughout, but at the beginning, I replaced my 9-to-5 income in just 5 months. I had that goal for myself to do that, and I hit my deadline. I made that goal, and I made money consistently. And I was able to quit my job, and from then on, everything was good for a number of years. And so it was like, yeah, like from the outside, I have this successful business, right? But inside, I was building something that wasn't me. And that leads me to mistake number 1, which was I became an agency owner without ever choosing to become an agency owner. So let me back up and tell you why this was a mistake on my part. So I first started as a virtual assistant in 2019. And it was my goal. I purposefully at that time, I said yes to all the things, right? I wanted to learn. I wanted to figure out what I enjoyed. I wanted to figure out what I was good at. I wanted to figure out what I never wanted to do again, So I did a little bit of everything. I had a lot of clients, and some of these clients were like 5-hour-a-month clients, and I had a lot of them, right? So at first, and the clients kept coming. And at first that felt really validating, like, oh my God, I'm like this amazing business owner. I'm doing all the right things. And then it got to a point where it's like, wait, I can't take on any more clients as a solo VA anymore. And what I should have done at that time was to kind of pause and to really ask myself, okay, I have proven to myself that I can run this business, but what do I actually want this business to become? Right? And I didn't do that. I did what I thought I was supposed to do because I looked online. I was like, well, how do you, I had no idea, right? Like, how do you grow? Like, okay, I've hit a capacity, my hourly capacity, and how do I grow this business? Like, what do I do? One option came up on Google. One option, build an agency, hire subcontractors. That's how you grow as a virtual assistant, period. So I did, right? I hired subcontractors. I became the middleman. I managed communication. I was the one who clients talked to. I reviewed the work of some of these subcontractors, all the things, right, that you can imagine. And great, I had like 14 clients, 3 people on my team. Like, that sounds really cool, right? But like, that's success. But I didn't choose that path, right? Like, I didn't realize this until later. I didn't choose to be a people manager. I didn't choose to have this large number of clients where the work is, I don't want to say, like kind of like basic admin work, right? Like, I never decided I wanted to be responsible for other people, like the people on my team's incomes. I didn't ask if this role actually fit me. It was my business that demanded it of me, and I just followed. I went with it. So, and it's not something that I wanted. I realized later, right? Like it wasn't making me fulfilled. It wasn't making me happy. And my business stopped feeling like my own business. I was busy all the time. I was making money, but not fulfilled, right? I was grateful, but also kind of trapped in what I was doing. And then I felt guilty because so many people, struggle to get clients. so many people would love to be where that position that I was in, but it wasn't what I wanted. So that was mistake number one, was letting my business lead me to building this agency that wasn't really in my heart. And so then what I did was I shifted out of the agency I became a certified online business manager. I shifted into OBM work because I was like, you know what I think I want? What I want is to go deeper. I wanted, like, at that point, I was like, okay, I've been doing this for like a year. I'm like ready to be more strategic, to do this like higher level stuff and whatnot, like deeper work, fewer clients, a higher hourly wage. And that's kind of the key term here, is that mistake number two is that I built everything on hourly retainers. And I'll tell you why that is a mistake. So as an OBM, and this is typical when you are, like the literal right-hand person for these 6-7 figure businesses, you can only handle maybe 3, maybe 4 clients because you are deeply involved, right? You are the person that your clients rely on. You're the only one, something breaks, they hired you to fix it, right? You are holding the business when it feels unstable. And I took that seriously, right? Like that was my responsibility. And even with those boundaries, the mental load never really shut off, right? Because they were thinking about their business. I was thinking about 3 or 4 businesses. If something went wrong on a weekend, I knew about it. If a launch felt shaky, I felt that, in my body. If a client was stressed, I absorbed that stress. It wasn't that, yes, I was working a lot, but I was also carrying a lot. And, for instance, I had a client whose website went down on a Saturday in the middle of launch. And obviously I don't normally work weekends, but that I had to deal with, so obviously I did. But it's kind of like one thing after another. And I do really love the OBM work and I was good at it. However, when I am the person for a few of these hourly retainer clients, 1, it's a lot of responsibility. And 2, I was capped, right? I was making these in the range of, depending on the month, 8 to 12K months, right? But even at that level, I was capped both monetarily and also emotionally. I was exhausted. There was no room to expand. I could never focus on my own business. I couldn't focus on anything else, right? I was giving up more and more of myself to handle these hourly retainer clients. And yes, this is good work. Yes, it pays, it pays obviously more per hour than a VA, but at the end of the day, I was still capped and it was a lot. And so that's what led me to my burnout, because now I am the one who's focused on all these other people's businesses and I didn't feel like I had a business. My business didn't belong to me anymore. I was reactive to my clients. And it felt like I existed inside of their businesses instead of building my own. And that is the point where burnout really hit me. It was a burnout where, at one point, I parted ways with a couple of clients and normally I would have been like, okay, at it again, let's get some, and clients would come on and everything was good, but I couldn't do it at that point, right? Like I couldn't do it anymore. I had burnout and it lasted at least a year. And because of my business model, of how I went into it thinking that the only way or the main way was with these hourly retainer clients. And so that was mistake number 2. So 1 was having this VA agency when it was kind of accidental. I kind of fell into it. And then 2 was having my business model be based on hourly retainers. So these first 2 mistakes could have been avoided because the real mistake, and if you take nothing else away from this story, take this away. The root cause of all of this is that when I started my business, my goal was replace my income, leave my 9 to 5 so I could be free. And I did that. There was no goal. I never went back and had a vision after that. I was just learning, I was in it, and then my business was taking me places, right? Like she was guiding me. I was not in the driver's seat. So mistake number 3, the root cause of all of this is not having a clear vision. And this is what I understand now that I did not understand back then. Again, like I said, My only goal when I started was to quit my job. I didn't really ask myself. I know I wanted to quit my job. I knew that I wanted to be able to move abroad, which I did. So amazing, right? So I knew, but I never asked myself, okay, what do I want to feel like? What kind of work actually sustains me? What role do I want to play long term? Like, what feels good for me? What would make me excited to get out of bed every morning? And so because I didn't take the time to have this vision, and there's a lot more that goes into it, but those are some basic questions, every decision I made from then on was reactive. More clients came, I adjusted. Work piled up, I adapted. Opportunities appeared, I followed them. I never really designed my own business. I let it design me. I let my business be in control. And then when you do that, as I have learned, when you do that for long enough, burnout is not just a possibility, it is inevitable. So what I needed back then was not a higher rate, wasn't another offer. What I needed at that point was space. I needed to pause for a second, really zoom out and ask myself, okay, what am I building? And does this support the life that I want to live? Am I doing the work that I love doing and that I'm so excited to jump into every day? And if not, how can I make it that way? And that's the work I did eventually. And that's when all of the things changed. My offers, my structure, my energy, my relationship to my business. And this is the thing that led me to create my framework, Effortless Offer Flow, which is what everything I do is based on, including my one-on-one coaching expansion. So expansion is not something that I built because, I want to coach VAs and OBMs. I built it because I lived the alternative, because I know what it's like to be successful on paper, but miserable behind the scenes. I know how confusing it is to feel stuck when you're like, well, I'm doing well, but I don't really feel like I'm doing well, and feeling guilty about that. I know how painful it is to realize that you've built a business that depends entirely on you, but that doesn't actually support you. Expansion starts with a vision for a reason. It doesn't start with strategy. It doesn't start with marketing. It doesn't start with systems or how to scale. The very, very, very first thing we do is create a vision. Because without a vision, every next step just creates a different version of the same problem that you have. Vision is the very, very first thing that you should have, and that's your North Star. That's your guiding light for everything that you do in business. So if you are listening to this and you're thinking like, oh, like this really resonates with me. Okay, like I kind of see myself in this story. I have good news. You don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to pay me anything. I know. I am offering free 45-minute business audit calls. They're not sales calls where I'm pressuring you, give you 5 minutes of advice and pressure you to buy a 10K program. I don't even have a 10K program. I'm not going to pitch you what's not aligned. We will look at what's going on in your business, what's keeping you stuck in reactive hourly work, and what are the next 1 to 2 steps that you can take in order to create this business that you actually love and that's going to make all the money while supporting you. If expansion is a fit, I will tell you, but if it's not, you're still going to leave with clarity. And so I only take a few of these each month because I'm serving my clients. And if spots are open, head over to the link in the show notes because you'll see them if spots are open then. So remember that you don't have to suffer in your business to succeed. You don't have to be reactive and just let your business lead you down all of these paths that don't feel good to you. But you do need to choose your business. You need to consciously take the next step instead of letting it guide you. So if any parts of my story felt familiar, you are 100% ready for something different and you can do this. I took the step, I changed it all. And so take me as an example. You can do this too. And so with that, I will say goodbye for this episode and I will catch you guys on the next one.